Alrighty guys, and welcome back to the Basketball Fix and the official Game Day Squad NBL Basketball podcast presented by the team at the Basketball Fix. And once again, I'm joined by the main man, my co-host for the entire season of NBL action, Mr. Jeremy Dart. Jeremy, mate, how are you? And how exciting was it to have some NBL basketball finally back on our TV screens?
Mate, it's exciting to have the basketball on the TV screen, but it's just as exciting to have the statistics on the little screen on your computer, right? Because now we can actually start cramming numbers, having a look at, okay, who actually has potential to be some of these sleeper guys where you can get some good matchups, which we're going to go into a little bit later. But yeah, absolutely pumped to have some real basketball happening and seeing some good minutes from the good players, unlike you did in preseason, really. So yeah, we've got some data now to crunch in to Excel and all our little spreadsheets and stuff going on.
And that's been the most exciting thing. And we'll leave a link down below as well with a little link to an Excel spreadsheet. So if you want to be able to calculate things, you can do that and use that as well. Just to make life a little bit easier. Obviously, game day isn't getting updated. It's not on the NBL app like SuperCoach is, for example, as well, which seems to be absolutely dying in the arse this season, which is really, really fortunate for us, obviously making the switch over to Game Day Squad. But in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the scoring and how it works. We briefly touched on it last week, but we're really going to dive into it this week as well. Now that we have some scores to break down, then we'll go into some of the top Blitz performers as well. There were just an incredible amount of good players. Like when we are talking about the upper echelon of talent this season, it's going to be one of the biggest and best seasons in NBL history as well. And then we'll jump into who are a couple of our round one locks as well. So a brief, short, sharp episode, but I think where we'll start is we'll jump into breaking down the scoring system as well. So if you haven't played Game Day Squad before, this is how it works. So I'm going to briefly run through it, Jez, and then I want to ask you a couple of quick little questions and your reactions to the scoring system as well. So it kind of reminds me, I don't think you would have played it, Jez, but just NBL Fantasy, where it was just a fantasy game run by the NBL before SuperCoach took over. And everyone loved it. It was just like super, super simple. You know, you're not worrying about any other thing. You're not worrying about, you know, I think there was a thing, maybe it was like missed free throws were -1 point or something like that as well. But we'll jump into Game Day Squad scoring. So for every point that you score in a game, you get 1 Game Day Squad point. For every 3-pointer field goal made, you get 1 point as well. For every offensive rebound, you get 3 points. Every defensive rebound, 2 points. Every assist, 4 points. Every steal and block, 5 points. And then for turnovers, it's -3 and -2 for personal fouls. So that's where it kind of evens it up a little bit for the point guards, because obviously they can be awarded so many points for these assists, but the assist to turnover ratio is really, really crucial in Game Day Squad, because you can go out there and get 8 assists, but you're going to match that up with 8 turnovers. You've really only had 4 assists when you're looking at the Game Day Squad points as well. So, mate, what do you think of the scoring structure? Where do you instantly get drawn to? And what type of players do you think are going to really do well this season in Game Day Squad?
Yeah, well, I think you hit it on the head with obviously point guards. And it's funny you say that with turnovers and assists, that you got to find that right ratio. That ratio is really important unless you're Kendrick Davis, because he seemed to give the ball away and get personal fouls, and he still topped last year's average score. For Game Day Squad. Like he had, I think it was like giving away maybe 15 points on average per game in turnovers and personal fouls, but was still the best player in Game Day Sports. So besides Kendrick Davis, extremely important. I think you get straight away drawn to point guards that are not only able to produce points and maybe pop a couple of threes for that extra bonus point, but ones that are feeders. You want assists. I think we saw in a couple of these big blitz scores, the players that are obviously getting a high average in assists are getting these, obviously the biggest haul. And then you want to be able to get some steals as well, because they're absolute gold. So I think that's why Kendrick Davis was so good, because he sort of balanced out all of his minus points by being able to get steals and obviously always getting pretty close to scoring like a double-double with points and assists every game. But his points obviously up around 20 and his assists floating around that sort of 8 to 12 mark through very big, large patches of the season last year. So, definitely you want those types of guys. And then you also want the big boys inside that can stay out of foul trouble, I think.
Yep.
Because you get
100%.
all these massive points for blocks. So I think what was really, really interesting, maybe in SuperCoach, Taco Fall was sort of an average SuperCoach player. But when it come to game day, he was obviously massive because he was getting offensive rebounds where you get that extra point, and then also being able to get a whole heap of blocks per game. So I think what did I have here? That he was the 5th best average last year in GameDay Squad, because purely based on his offensive rebounds and his blocks, nothing else, because his scoring was like a roller coaster. So I think that's what you look for. You look for these aggressive big boys that can stay out of trouble and get a couple of blocks and obviously score a few points. And then the feeder point guards that also get steals.
Yeah, I think you're bang on, mate. And there's a reason why this certain guy is on the screen as well, Christian Doolittle. Like, I think he's when you look at the perfect mold player, he's a guy who can go and drop 15 to 20 points per game. He can also go and get 8 to 10 rebounds a game. And we've seen through certain patches last season where he can average between 4 and 6 assists per game as well. He also does the steals, he gets the blocks, and he's not a very high turnover player or a foul player as well. So you're looking for certain players. You know, you're looking for the combination small forward or power forward where they can rebound, score, and assist. You're looking for the dominant inside players who can obviously offensively rebound, defensively rebound, and block, but stay out of foul trouble. And then you're looking for these point guards who can facilitate, like you said, can feed down below, but can also go and get a few points as well, and also get on the glass and attack. And that's where we saw, when we go into it a little bit, where we looked at some of the biggest scorers from the offseason and the Blitz as well. A lot of these point guards, they weren't really averaging many sort of rebound numbers who scored well, but their assist to turnover ratio was just incredible. And there's one guy who's really, really caught my eye as well. But I love the scoring system, and I just love how it's so simple. You know, there's no discretion. You know what you got. You know what you get. And that's as simple as it is as well. And having something as well, like, I think it kind of takes out just scorers. Like, you know, obviously they're really, really crucial, but you've got to be able to be a two-dimensional player to a certain degree as well. So it's going to be interesting because there's probably going to be matchups where, you know, we've got to see how Bryce obviously fits into the Adelaide 36ers lineup, but there could be
no pod without
where...
mentioning Bryce's name, huh? No pod on the Basketball Fix It that doesn't mention Bryce.
The absolute GOAT. But it's going to be interesting because, you know, we want to see how the game style changes. He may go into more of a facilitating two-man and just could be the best Game Day Squad player that we'll see all season, or he could just be that genuine scorer who they just work off the ball and he'll go out and average his 30 points per game, but not many assists and not many rebounds. So, you know, it's going to be super, super interesting this season to see how it all works. And I'm genuinely excited about it. Have you got any more thoughts on the scoring system?
No, I just think you hit it on the head where you say, like, you've got to be good in two places of the game. Yep. You can't just be a good scorer or a good rebounder or a good facilitator. That you've either got to be able to do all three and be a triple-double kind of guy, or you got to be a double-double kind of guy. And there's no bonus points like in SuperCoach for double-doubles, but you get rewarded well in just the basic scoring system. But you've got to be able to do two: shoot and pass, or shoot and rebound, pass and rebound. You've got to be more of a complete player.
You definitely do. And I think that's where we'll jump into next, mate, because obviously the most exciting part of the weekend, for me personally, I'm not sure how much of the games you got to catch. I know I caught up a lot of them on the highlights as well, which was also good that you can check out as well. But it was just incredible to have NBL basketball. And, you know, we've been hearing all these names, you know, the Bryce Hamiltons, the Isaiah Brockingtons, the Tyger Campbells, the David Johnsons, you know, even guys like Dylan Windler returning back to the NBL, Jack McVeigh coming back. You're hearing all these really, really exciting premier talent coming back to the NBL or new faces in the NBL, but to finally see them on an NBL court in an NBL jersey was absolutely incredible. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do, over the next 10 minutes, we're going to break down who are some of the top scorers at the Blitz, and we'll look at a single game average. So the first graphic here, as you'll see, will be the top 5 scorers from the Blitz in one single game. And then Jez has got a couple of stats as well, which will break down about some 2-game averages as well. So obviously we know in GameDay Squad, it's the highest score you get for the round, but it's still important to see those 2-game averages as well. So you can see, okay, this guy is averaging a really solid number. So even if he does, have one poor game and one good game, I'm probably going to get a decent score. But some of these scores are just ridiculous, mate. Like I look at Javon Freeman-Liberty, that game he had 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals, and shot an incredible amount of 3-pointers as well with very low turnovers. Tyger Campbell, he's a guy who has caught my attention. I'm a Tyger Campbell guy. Like Jazzy Jack Jumpers. We may have given him a little bit of shit throughout the off-season, but the team is looking relatively strong. And I don't know if Sean McDonough would be this same sort of player. Like, I don't think he would be. But Tyger Campbell basically averaged 12.5, 13 points and 8 assists. So, and his assist to turnover ratio is why he had 70 points against the Cairns Taipans as well. But Isaiah Brockington, Dylan Windler, and Isaac White, who's probably a bit of a surprise to this list. But these numbers, mate, are genuinely incredible. 70 points is a massive amount.
Yeah, I think to put it in perspective for everybody or new players, Kendrick Davis was the high-scoring player. He averaged 66.26 points last year. So there's in theory, 4 players on that list that scored higher than his average. So they're pretty impressive scores. I think, man, it's brutal. It just sort of shows the scary thought of how much import talent there is this season in the NBL, the actual quality that the NBL have been able to attract over the off-season. But yes, it's the Blitz. Don't get too excited. I think we need to see some proper scores in proper matches, but it is still exciting. It makes you froth getting into the NBL season, just going, okay, this could be, as we say, the NBL is moving forward, and this could be the best NBL season we have because there's so much raw talent that has a high ceiling. This is the high ceiling you're seeing right now because you got some players that can take this league by storm, just like Kendrick Davis did last year.
100%, mate. And I want to jump down as well. We've got a couple more of the high scorers, and we're looking for. I guess what you're looking for is like some of our teams and like a couple of players that I've got in my team have actually scored relatively well in this sort of Blitz arena as well. So one that I get excited about is a Josh Bannan. I think he's got untapped potential. I've been on him for a number of years now as well. He scored 58 points.
The Banana Man.
First game. The Banana Man against, I think it was against the Cairns Taipans. He had like 22 points and 11 rebounds. And I believe 4 of them were offensive rebounds as well. So there's already 12 of your 58 points. Another one as well of note, I have to mention him. He had a really, really good game in his first one. Nathan Sobey. Was incredible from downtown. I think he had 18 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. I think he made 5 3-point shots as well with a very low turnover ratio as well. So again, 60 points is massive. Couple of role players, Isaiah Leartha, 59 points. Jaquori McLaughlin scored 59 points as well. Obviously a guy who could be signed by the Illawarra Hawks. And I think that may actually happen now that Justin Tatum has come out and said that Dave O'Hickey will be the starting point guard. So I think he might be a guy they look to bring off the bench. He had an incredible game against the Perth Wildcats. Jonah Bolden, 58 points. Bryce Hamilton, 56 points. Mason Peatling, 55 points. And Cody Stattmann had an incredible 2 games for the Cairns Taipans as well. He had 54 points, and I believe it was maybe 40 odd the next game. He averaged over the Blitz 40 points. So it must have been a little bit lower than 40, but he looks like a guy who could be someone of value in GameDay Squad. But mate, let's jump into some of the locks that we have for round number 1. And there's a couple of them, and bear with us as well because the game hasn't been completely updated. So I've had to kind of go and guess where their positions will be. So Tyger Campbell will definitely be listed as a point guard. I'm not sure if Bryce Hamilton will be listed as a shooting guard or a small forward. And the same with Isaiah Brockington. I think he'll definitely be the shooting guard, but I think Bryce may be a small forward depending on how it all goes. But I want you to jump in here first, mate. You've got a couple that are on the list right now, and you've got one off the list as well, who's going to be really exciting heading into round number 1.
Yeah, well, I'm straight up on Isaiah Brockington, really, because he had the highest average. If you take both games, you're looking, especially from your imports, you want consistency, and even if it is in the blitz, you want consistency. So he had a higher score of 68, but an average of 58. So he's sitting around that mark. Say if you're scoring around 50 points, that was like when you're looking at the averages of the best players, that was around 6th or 7th. So that's a pretty decent score if you can sort of average around 50, but he averaged 58 over those 2 games. So that's pretty decent. I think with New Zealand, they play twice, I believe, right?
Yeah, twice in round 1.
Yeah. So you got twice of a chance to get a big score. I think that's the tactic and the difference between SuperCoach was, all right, you're getting sort of the good score and the bad score, but here you get 2 cracks at the egg. You know, they can have one shit game, or they might have a hard matchup, but then the next matchup is awesome. And obviously the players that have the best averages are usually going to have a big game in 1 or 2. So I really like him to be a lock. Obviously, PJC went down against Cairns when he scored a whole heap of points. But I still believe that he's going to be able to feed off PJC. I think we're going to get a lot of points out of Brockington, and then he's still going to be able to get those assists because those two, if they find some chemistry, which PJC didn't really have with Matt Mooney, it felt like it never really happened. Matt Mooney was good last year when PJC was out. So if these 2 guys find a connection, we could see them really play off each other in the backcourt and be assisting each other and really moving the ball. So you're going to see both of those. They're going to be a 2-way player, which is what we just talked about, where you're getting points from 2 categories, plus being able to pick up some steals as well. So, yeah, I think he's a definite lock there. And I like him sitting at the top of the list because he's having 2 cracks at it. And then my next guy is my boy, Will Magne. I think if he stays healthy, he's a force. He's a force in all forms of fantasy. He's a force in real life. He can get you a double-double. He can get you some blocks. He's going to be down in the mix. The only sort of question mark for me that can hurt is obviously he's not afraid to play physical, and you might see some points disappear on personal fouls. But I like what he did in those first few games, and obviously he's going to come into this season healthy. He started last year like with I'm pretty sure it was an ankle injury, knee injury really, really early in the season, and that just sort of carried through the whole year. So, but I think we should see a full season from Will Magne, hopefully, and you should see some consistent scores where he's going to score around that 50-point mark. So just a good, solid power forward right there.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. I think they're all great locks as well. And something on Isaiah Brockington, it looks like Parker Jackson-Cartwright has also sustained a rib injury, which we saw him sort of go down with for quite a period of time there last season with the rib cartilage as well. So that could be one of note for Isaiah Brockington. Maybe he gets a little bit more time with the ball in his hand instead of obviously working off of Parker Jackson-Cartwright, which is also going to be a somewhat positive for GameDay Squad. Obviously not for the New Zealand Breakers though. But yeah, I think he's going to be an incredible player. When he came into the league, I think I put something out saying he will be a guy who, you know, averages between that sort of 18 to 20 points per game. And I had people laughing at me in the comment section. But again, we don't really hold on to too many receipts here at the Basketball Fix. But I've got a
really,
couple
Josh,
here.
really?
We do. We definitely do. But
yeah,
I've got a couple
in the
here.
black book.
Dylan Windler for me is a big lock against the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. Bryce Hamilton and David Johnson, as much as they are really good players, I think they are going to leak a few points this season as well, because Bryce is that guy. It does look like he's going to be your 20 to 22 point per game scorer. He's a solid enough defender, but I think a guy like Dylan Windler, with his size, his athleticism, and just his ability and sheer ability to shoot from so deep, but the defensive attributes that he holds are just incredible. I think the game against the Illawarra Hawks, where he had the 66 points, I think it was something like, this is off the top of my head, I think it was 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks. So just absolutely stuffed the stat sheet. I know the steals and blocks there were 100% correct, because I remember looking at that going, holy shit, he's going to be a guy we look at a lot for GameDay Squad. And I think he only had 2 turnovers and 1 personal foul. So, you know, if he's healthy and fit, I think he's going to be a really formidable player this season. And the way the Jack Jumpers are looking like they're going to be playing this season, I think there's going to be a shift in the mentality. I know defense is going to still be really, really important, but I don't think it's going to be the bear-all sort of thing we look at where they only allowed 88 points last season, 82 points the year before. I think that will sort of rise up to those 90 points per game they'll average over, allow in NBL 26, I should say. So I think Dylan Windler, obviously Bryce Hamilton we have to look at. Now for Tasmanians' perspective, they have got the 2 games. They play Melbourne and Perth in round number 1. So you are
Perth
getting 2
points.
looks at the ice cream.
Perth don't know how to play defense.
Nah, and that's going to be the interesting part as well. So what you can see on the graphic here is I have recommended, obviously, where I get excited. So for me, Bryce Hamilton, I get excited against Melbourne United. So I think, obviously, Shea Ili, if he plays, will play on Tyger Campbell. And then, obviously, you've got Milton Doyle will probably take David Johnson or Bryce Hamilton. And then Chris Goulding will probably get stuck on a guy like Bryce Hamilton or David Johnson. So for me, the better matchup is Bryce Hamilton against Melbourne United. And then on the flip side of that, though, Tyger Campbell, as of right now, it's perfect and better matchup against the Perth Wildcats, a team with no import point guard as of right now and aren't really looking like they're going to have one before round number 1. So, there's nothing, what I should say is they're going to have one before round number 1, but it's not really looking like we're seeing some superstar caliber player. So it's going to be so interesting. And Jack McVeigh is the other one there. 18 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists in game 1 of the Blitz against the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. So we know what we expect from Jack McVeigh. But I'm just looking down at your numbers here, mate, and there's a couple of interesting ones that I want to quickly flag for guys who, maybe we have higher rarity cards of because they aren't let's just say when we are obviously opening packs, we're looking for the Kendrick Davises, the Bryce Cottons, the Milton Doyles, the guys like that, the superstar talent. But typically we do find ourselves obviously getting a few of these lower end cards as well. So I look at a guy like Isaac White, who we could look to pull. Now, bear in mind, they had a lot of their roster out, but he averaged 54 points over the Blitz as well. Super impressive. Jonah Bolden looks like a guy who's going to be in for a big season, and he will most likely start for this team. So he averaged 45.5 points. And Owen Foxwell, 44.5. We know how much Josh King loves him. And I think he's going to be a massive piece to the puzzle for them as well. So there's some nice. I
think you're missing one guy, mate, and that's a surprise in even last year's averages as well. Is Nathan Sobey? I know that he is a premium player in the NBL, but it's someone that you sort of miss a little bit when it comes to fantasy and those sorts of things. And considering the swings that he had in his form last year, he still was the 8th highest scoring average in GameDay Squad. And over the Blitz, he averaged 55 points in his couple of games. So he's just quietly a sleeper of the big guns, you could almost say, because feels like he's got a pretty big role. I think Josh King also rates Sobey pretty well. They got rid of a few players. There was a decision there where it was Derek Walton Jr. or Sobey leading the team, and he went for Sobey in the end. It felt like, obviously with Walton being injured as well, but it felt like coming into the finals, they got more out of Sobey when Walton Jr. went down, and then it gave confidence with Josh King, I believe. So we could see another big season from Sobey, and he's a little bit of a sleeper of the veteran players.
I think that's a really good point, because I'm just grabbing the stats up right now for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix game, the last one they played against the Sydney Kings. And I look at Southeast Melbourne and I kind of get scared, but then I'm also kind of excited. I guess the punter in me is like, all these guys are going to facilitate, all these guys are going to rebound, all these guys are going to score. There's no set point guard for this team. And, looking at some of the sets they were running, like, this team's going to be quite impressive, I think, this season. Like, I underestimated them a little bit. Now, looking at their team, how that played, and the one big piece, I just want to grab his stats up because it's probably not going to blow me off the park, which it isn't, but it's John Brown III, so the new import for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. This dude can ball, and he is a monster. 4'5", 3'4", wherever you want to play him. So he only had, this is his debut though, so bear in mind, debut game, 23 minutes, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Didn't make a 3-point, nor did he attempt one. 2 offensive rebounds, 2 defensive rebounds, only the 1 turnover and the 2 personal fouls. So he's a guy who is going to be a defensive player of the year candidate. There's no questions about it. So when we're looking back to those scores and everything as well, 5 points for blocks, 5 points for steals. That's the way you're going to be really building your repertoire in NBL 26. But Mate, this list is stacked. Like, there's one guy right down the bottom again, Ben Christie. I want to give a quick little shout out to him as well. Obviously, the backboard fell on him. It looks like he sustained a neck injury as well, so it's going to rule him out for the start of the season. So I don't know how that happens in professional sports. I think it's just the biggest travesty, and I'd be suing anyone. If this was in America, they'd be absolutely fucked, the ALS, because they'd be sued through to the hell as well. But anyone else catch your attention? And on Ben Christie as well, mate. You go. Bet on Christie.
Yeah, no, like it is just crazy. You think he will earn more money off that lawsuit than he will getting paid by the Adelaide 36ers. They don't have any cash left, so he can't be getting paid too much. But yeah, like, I don't know, on this list, no, I think we've pretty much hit it on the absolute head throughout the whole show. Matty Dellavedova could also be a little bit of a sleeper. Like, he's going to get a lot of assists, so I think he's just going to facilitate the whole time. So if he can sort of, average 10, 15 points in scoring a game, pop a three maybe, or get a steal here and there, like, he could also be a good, just solid average player that you can sort of have as your second shooting guard.
Definitely, mate. I think one more as well that I might just quickly throw in before we wrap up today's show is Benny Henschel. I think he's going to have an increased role this season for the Perth Wildcats, average that 41 points per game as well. So, again, we're not looking at big names right now, but we're looking at guys that you may have those high rarity cards of, because they're not going to give you the Diamond Bryce Cottons and the Platinum Bryce Cottons and the Kendrick Davises to start the game. Obviously, you've got to really work and sort of figure out the best young players as well to sort of play a couple of point of differences every single week. So,
and their matchups. It's the
100%, the matchups.
Like,
that's the most important part.
So important.
And I guess we're not really going to have that data until we're probably 2 or 3 rounds in to sort of see, okay, this is the team that's leaking points. This is the team who's leaking a huge amount of rebounds. Obviously, giving out a lot of steals and turnovers and everything as well. So it's going to be so exciting, but I think that is where we'll leave today's episode. And we have a really exciting episode coming up next as well. Next week, we'll be ranking the top players in each position as well. So we'll go through and probably rank the top 10 point guards in our opinion, shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, and centers. So we'll have a bit of a look at the data from the Blitz, obviously a look at last season as well, if they are returning to the NBL, and just give you who we believe are the top 10 in each position as well. So looking forward to that one, mate. But Jez, another great episode of Game Day Squad, and this is where we're really starting to come into our own now as well, with basketball being played, statistics, and being able to look at it all, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely frothing. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to these next 2 weeks where we're trying to pick up some good players in some of the packs you get, and then trying to piece together a starting 10. Yeah. So it's exciting times. Loving it.
Definitely. Yeah, only 3 weeks away now to the start of the season. The 18th of September is the first game as well. So obviously no Sydney or Adelaide in the first round, as they'll be playing against the European powerhouses as well. But everyone else will be seeing some NBL action. But until next time, from Jeremy and Josh here at the Basketball Fix, we hope you've gotten your basketball fix.